Hey guys, so I was watching Kyle Bradbury's video on kind of introduction to Jupyter Notebooks, and he set up from what it looked like in a terminal window. So it's just like I guess this Anaconda prompt, the directory of where the notebooks would be created. Um, I guess that process would be nice, but I kind of thought a pretty decent workflow, at least for me, was to create a um, a template of you know my my notebooks that already had like maybe some markdown code on how, or some markdown of text of how different resources and kind of different sections on how a general way that I would break down different code, with resources, links to really common stuff. That's kind of how I broke down my template. And in my opinion, I feel like the process of creating a directory, in a command window for a new folder, or for a new notebook would be a little bit tedious, and I feel like is missing a little bit of information as well. I mean, I guess if you know everything, or at least are good enough to where you can get in there and not really need to reference anything, and then ultimately you're going to build some type of visualization through Matplotlib and some of those other packages that you would not want to clutter it up. But I found that it's kind of helpful to create a notebook, just a template one that I would build upon. I also create like this template starting project folder. So here's my projects, and then I have this project template folder that I copy from. So it has the data, which is just going to be general data, and I have nothing there. But if I get access to Excel or some type of database that I can, that isn't already kind of tied up in a, for example, on a SQL server, and it's something I actually have, then I would place it in that folder. The code would be, essentially just the notebook. But have done some stuff with Spider. I've been messing with that because I found that notebooks don't necessarily, they don't, from what I can tell, you can't automate a lot. I mean, you can create all the code up there, but then there's things that you would miss when you use like an actual IDE, like Spider or some of the other ones. And then because I ultimately, in some of these programs that I'm trying to create, I want to make an executable or something that I can kind of set up on an automatic run, once a week. And I find that I can't really do that in Jupyter Notebooks that I've seen yet. From what I can tell, I think it's awesome for just getting it up there and kind of testing it and seeing how, because if it works up there, it's going to work pretty much anywhere else. You may have to change a few things, and then I think it's super useful if you also change around or use it for visual. I think it's awesome to do this, and I also have seen other people talk about using them in this way, but to kind of visualize your or almost break down your data set. You have this initial data set, or a variety of data sets that you're kind of working through different visualizations, and you're breaking it down using pandas and NumPy and all these others, and then eventually maybe even pushing it into some machine learning algorithm, and then you want to visualize that and kind of break down the code, and so you can demonstrate that. I've seen a lot of people use notebooks for that as well. So I also have this resource folder as well. So I just throw kind of what I find. What I do is in the resource folder, I'll be working on a notebook, and I'll go to pandas or maybe some weird package that I guess it doesn't seem to be very common because it was kind of difficult to find. I'll find that the paths and stuff, or I'll get all the links and I'll kind of save them into a project specific resource folder. I also, if I go back a couple folders, I have this resource folder that I've created here that has a ton of kind of essentially a compiled folder of everything that I found while working on these projects. Because most of these projects, some of them are applicable and I've used them in work situations, but the biggest thing that I've done with these is actually went in there or the biggest thing for me is to actually doing this to learn it, and plus it's just a lot of fun. And then and if it does come to if it's something that is truly useful, then yeah, I'm going to use it and try to optimize it as much as possible. So I just want to show my actual template Jupyter Notebook just to kind of show you my example of it. And we'll just go into Jupyter. I'll go back one and then I'll jump into this and we'll jump in. I'll just open up this template Jupyter Notebook. But I essentially just threw some stuff in there. So I've got links, got common resources. So I put Stack Overflow and Python 3 documentation. It seems that, I go to Stack Overflow quite a bit. I don't visit Python 3 doc that much. I'll have Python links. And I think what I'm kind of still figuring this out, but the way that I built it is that I essentially, anything that's a Python library or package, I would put the link there. So if it's to something like matplotlib, to a specific location on there, I would essentially put that link under here. General resources are kind of miscellaneous stuff, maybe that pertains to the data or, different things. YouTube videos. Markdown links, I thought that was useful because, I don't know Markdown all the way, and I'll build it throughout my Jupyter Notebook to kind of keep everything a little bit more organized. And if I want to do different or different things I haven't done before, then these links are pretty helpful. Code, since I'm still learning, what I find is nice if I, because I'll find something on Stack Overflow or I'll find it on Python 3 documentation or something else. I find that it does something really cool, and I could see it being very useful, but doesn't really address the problem that I'm having. And then I'll save it kind of under here for, so I can kind of reference it at a later point. And then notes is kind of general notes, just text. Doesn't pertain to a specific line of code or anything, but it's kind of more general, just different information. So that's essentially that, and I guess more or less what prompted this conversation was just seeing that video, and I thought maybe there was a different way in actually creating your notebooks, and not necessarily I'm not even sure if it's even possible through Anacondas to path a specific direct. I'm sure it is. But I feel like that's a kind of manual to path to a specific directory. You just copy a notebook to a specific location. I feel like that would be faster. But then again, it's kind of each is their own. So it all depends on really what you're doing, how quick you are at certain things, and really what you like to do. So I figured, after seeing that video, I would share kind of my perspective on how I created them, how I kind of use them and structure my stuff out. So, yeah, this is just kind of a general conversation. I'd love to hear any kind of comments or questions, or if you have any tips or tricks that you'd like to kind of share, that would be awesome. I'm still kind of learning this stuff, trying to figure it out. So thanks a lot for watching.